Hi, I'm Teresa and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my October wrap up. So for being the first month of me being fully at uni, October was not a bad reading month. I read a few 5-star reads, I read 7 books total, which is not bad. And honestly I'm just quite proud that I managed to keep up reading while at uni. Though to be fair, I've managed to keep up reading, but my actual uni work, not kept up with that. But you know what? This just proves that my priorities are reading, and that's that. The first book I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about very quickly because I imagine no one really cares. But that is Le Jeu de l'amour et du hasard by Marieville. I don't know his first name. It's just got his last name. I read this for my French literature course. So this is an 18th century French play, and it was let's just say I've not read a lot of French during lockdown, so it's like 6 months of the only French book I read was Le Petit Prince, and then going straight into like French Shakespeare kind of sort of language, like old French. Oh god, it was jarring. I didn't understand a lot of this. But it was short, and I finished it and I read it, and it wasn't that bad. And now I don't have to think about it again unless I choose to write an essay on it. The next book I read was Black Widow Forever Read by Margaret Stoll. I have had this on my shelf for like 5 years or something and just never picked it up, but I was just suddenly so in the mood for it and I absolutely flew through it. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm still not sure if I'm going to read the sequel or not because this felt very, very wrapped up and like they just thrown something in at the end to make a sequel possible. So I can kind of ignore that and just be happy with how this is mostly wrapped up. So yes, this is obviously based around Black Widow, and it follows 3 point of views. We've got Natasha herself, a main character called Ava, who meets Natasha when she's very young. She was kind of rescued by Natasha from the same facility, the same man who raised Natasha, in the Red Room. And you've also got a boy called Alex, and you don't really understand why he's involved at the start, but you know that Ava has been dreaming of him. She's never met him, but she has these incredibly vivid dreams of his life. And so when she meets him at a fencing tournament, she's kind of like, what the fuck? And then Natasha somehow gets involved in that. They're under attack. There's lots of stuff happening. It's a lot of fun. It is very much like a Marvel movie, but in book form. And I just actually really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, I really liked the interpretation of Black Widow, and I thought it was just an awful lot of fun. Next up, we've got Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. So, as you may know if you've seen my previous 2 videos, I think, I love this book and I can't shut up about how much I love this book. So, I read this during my spooky reading vlog as a kind of attempt to be seasonal. And I just absolutely adored it. I couldn't put it down. Immediate 5 stars. So this follows a main character called Yadriel, and he is determined to prove that he's a brujo. And he lives in this really diverse, vibrant Latina community of bruje, and literal translation's witch, but they don't really like that word, but there's this supernatural, fantastical element to it. And in this community, the men, the brujo, they are guides of spirits, they deal with undead, it's lots of fun. And the women, the bruja, can heal. And so you've got Yadriel, and he's determined to prove he's a brujo because he is trans, and he's faced a bit of kind of not very positive reactions to this. So he sets out to do the ceremony that all brujo do on their 15th birthday by himself. Well, with his cousin Maritza, who I also love. And he does it. And then he summons a spirit. And he meant to summon the spirit of his cousin who had just died, so he could figure out the murder, prove he's a brujo, all good. But he summons the wrong spirit. And so we meet Julian. And oh, it's so good. I just love the characters so much. They're so vivid. And this book, it's quite short, but it's just such a fast, fun, engaging read. It's so heartwarming. It does tackle some serious topics like the transphobia Yadriel faces. You've got a bit of the racism, colonialism, deportation that is obviously very apparent in the Latina community. And these are very heavy discussions, but they do not weigh down the book in any way. It is just a very positive, uplifting book. And I'm very, very glad it exists, and I'm so proud of how successful it's been with getting on the New York Times list. And yeah, this is just an incredible book, very much worth the hype, lives up to the hype, so worth it. I really highly, highly recommend it. The next book I read was The Boy in the Red Dress by Kristen Lambert, and this is an arc I received after publication because of COVID delays, and I've just finally gotten to it. It did come out in like May, apparently. So this is a kind of murder mystery, and it is set at the very beginning of 1930. So a murder takes place New Year's Eve 1929, and then obviously the investigation is in the days that follow. And so you've got a main character, Millie, and her aunt owns a speakeasy called the Cloak and Dagger, and this place, well, speakeasies are legal, but here it's even more secrecy is necessary because it's full of queer people. It's kind of the center of the queer community. And so she's left in charge on New Year's Eve. And of course, because she's left in charge, shit ends up going down. So you've had this lovely, rich socialite lady. She's come in, been asking around for this guy, and we discover that this guy is the boy in the red dress, who his name is Marion, and he is the kind of star performer of the speakeasy. And she's obviously from his old life, which is very secret. He doesn't like talking about. And so when she is quite tragically murdered, he's obviously the prime suspect. But Millie knows that he didn't do it. They're best friends. She trusts him completely. And so she sets out to try and solve the murder herself because the police aren't planning on fully investigating it because they've got a very obvious suspect here. And so this book I was very, very excited about, highly anticipated. But honestly, I'm quite disappointed to say it fell flat for me. I thought that it just didn't make good enough use of its setting. I think with a setting like 1920s, well, very early 1930s, New Orleans, French Quarter, it's got to be such a vibrant, living part of the book, and it really wasn't. And also, in terms of characters, I didn't really like or care about any of them. I thought that they weren't quite developed enough. But the mystery itself, it did grip me. Eventually, I was struggling with it to begin with. I wasn't caring that much, but it did surprise me, and as we got further into the book, maybe over halfway point, I was gripped, wondering who it was. I didn't figure out, which is always nice. I like a good surprise. Additionally, Millie is bi, and you've got a male and a female love interest in this book. So it did fall flat for me personally, but it was in no way a bad book, and I would still recommend it if that's what you're looking for. I'm just upset that it didn't work for me. The next book I read was the graphic novel Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Zhu. So this was lovely, short and sweet, spooky, Halloweeny read. So this follows a main character called Nova, and okay, let me just start off by saying this book full of rep. So Nova is Chinese American. She is hard of hearing. She wears a hearing aid, and she is also sapphic. And so her love interest is a non-binary werewolf, which is pretty cool. So they're childhood friends, but then Tam, who is a love interest, had to leave, and now they're back, and stuff's going down, and it's all a lot of fun. It's just so light-hearted, so cute. Nova is a witch, and from a family of witches, and her grandmothers, sapphic grandmothers, I love it so much, are the ones that look after her, and oh, it's so wholesome, so good. I really, really did enjoy this. I never really know how to talk about graphic novels in as much depth as novels, but yeah, it was fun. I liked the art style, and the plot itself was also really interesting, and I did enjoy reading that. I did think it worked very well in graphic novel form, and I just very much enjoyed it and enjoyed the representation, and yeah. So the next book I read was One Last Stop by Casey McKiston, which I was so excited, so happy to receive as an ARC. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I do have a full review available, and I'll link it down below if you are interested. But look at my tabs, oh my god. But this book was incredible. It was so good. I loved it so much. So this is the same author as Red, White and Royal Blue, and this is their sophomore novel, and it comes out in June next year. So this is a new adult FF time slip rom-com, and so good. We follow a main character called August, and she's just moved to New York for a kind of fresh start. She's very cynical. She's such a good main character. I really liked reading from her perspective. Anyway, so we follow her, just setting up her life, getting an apartment, getting a job, continuing her studies, and you meet this lovely queer found family, and they're incredible. I also love them so much. And then she gets on the subway one morning and she meets Jane. And Jane is also incredible. I also love her so much. So we find out that Jane is a lesbian and she is Chinese American and she has been displaced from the 1970s and stuck on the subway. And so August and Jane are kind of working together to try and obviously fix Jane's situation, get her off the subway, all while falling in love. And it's so good. It is just incredible. And this is one I've loved an awful lot and I very much highly recommend you pick up when it comes out. And yeah. And then the final book I read last month was Ironheart by Nina Varela. So this is the sequel to Crier's War, which I reread last month, maybe the month before, in preparation for this coming out. And so this is the final book in the duology, and it was very, very good. I really did enjoy it. I liked where the story went. I liked all the development of the politics. That was very interesting. Nina Varela does very good politics and intrigue, and I really liked seeing that in this book and how it kind of all wrapped up. And she also does very good yearning, and I also love seeing that in this book. It was done so well, so good. I loved it so much. I love both our main characters, Crier and Ayla, so much. And I was very, very happy to be back with them and to finish off their journey. And I also especially love the kind of almost epilogue that you've got at the end. So good. So this is set in a world where autome rule. So these autome are very human-esque, but essentially robots. But like, not robots. It's all to do with alchemy, and it's a very interesting magic system. I could not explain it now. It's not even magic, is it? Because it's science. Anyway, the Automaid rule, and one of your main characters, Crier, she's the daughter of the sovereign. She's so lovely and naive, and she loves learning and she loves human culture. And you've also got Ayla, because this is dual perspective, and Ayla is human, and as with most humans in this world, she's not had a very good time of it. And, her family have all been murdered by the sovereign. And so she has joined the rebellion and she has gotten a job in the palace and she's trying to work her way up so that she can kill the sovereign's daughter the same way that he killed her family. And so they end up meeting, and Ayla actually ends up becoming Crier's handmaiden. And they're both kind of going on their own journeys. Crier's very interested in politics and she's trying to get into the politics of her country and kind of deal with a threat to them, which is a man called Keenock, who Crier's ended up engaged to, because political alliances, all that. And Ayla's just like, can I kill Crier now? But I kind of don't want to. So good, such yearning, such good politics. I love it so much. This is such a good duology. I highly recommend it as well. So yeah, that's all the books I read this month. A very good reading month, if I do say so myself. I really enjoyed the majority of what I read. That's it for this video. So if you've enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to keep up with me elsewhere, I've got all my social media linked down below, and I will leave my One Last Stop review linked down below, and I will hopefully have written my Boy in the Red Dress review before this goes up, so I will also link it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in another video soon.